Good morning, boys and girls. Let's go over our math lesson for today, Tuesday, May 12th. Now, yesterday in your intro to chapter 10, you watched a video that talked about 4 new shapes. We talked about spheres, cylinders, cubes, and do you remember the last one? Spheres, cylinders, cubes, and cones. Very good. Spheres, cylinders, cubes, and cones. So if you did not watch the video that I shared yesterday, it was a cute little song with those 4 shapes to help introduce us to those shapes. Go back and watch that. I'll post it again today so that you can find it easily, so that you can watch that little song. So we're going to talk about those 4 shapes today and what makes those shapes special. Okay, the first shape that we are going to talk about, let's do the easiest one first. Sphere. Repeat after me. Sphere. Good. And a sphere, it's just a fancy word for something nice and round like a ball. So take a look here. I borrowed one of Finnegan's toys. This is nice and round. It has no points. It has no straight sides. This is a ball, or this is a sphere. Say this word one more time. Sphere. Nice and round, no straight edges, no sharp points. Okay, very good. And as we all know, because we've all played with balls before, a ball can roll. I'm going to show you in a moment. Actually, when I introduce these shapes, I'm going to make a little bit of space on my desk here, and we're going to take a look at what shapes roll and do different things. Okay, so that is a sphere. The next shape I want to introduce to you is called a cylinder. A cylinder looks like this. It looks like a can of soup. It's got a flat side at the top, flat side at the bottom, but the middle of it is round. If I put this down on my desk, it would roll because it is round. So say cylinder with me. Cylinder. Yep, and it looks like this. The next shape that we have is a cone. And if it made you think of an ice cream cone, you are exactly correct. A cone looks like this. I have a teeny tiny adorable little party hat, and this shape is a cone. Does this shape have a point? It does. Right here at the top, it has a point. Does this shape have a part of it that is round? It does. Take a look at the bottom. It's a round bottom. Now, the only difference with a party hat and something that is a cone is that the party hat would have a flat bottom. There's no bottom here because you're supposed to wear this on your head. But it would normally be flat. There would be something going across the bottom where this would stand up on its own, totally flat and even. It would have a flat bottom. So this is a cone. Say that with me. Cone, just like an ice cream cone. Excellent. And the last shape that we're going to talk about in this chapter, it's called the cube. You say cube with me? Cube. Excellent. And a cube looks like a dice that you would use playing a board game, a dice that you would roll with numbers. That is a cube. I also found another cube in my house, a tissue box. The cube has all flat sides. Flat, 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 flat. So there's no round edges. It's completely flat. And do you think this thing would roll very easily? Not too easily, right? Would this roll like this would? No, this one would really roll, right? This one could get pretty far. This one might roll a little bit, like when you roll the dice, but the ball is going to go much further. So this is not a great shape for rolling a lot. So say cube with me. Cube. Cube. Excellent, excellent. Now I'm talking a little bit about shapes that are rolling, and we're also going to talk about shapes that stack. So before we get to chapter 10.1, I am starting here on page 413, and we see a chart just like we saw in chapter 9. This chart says does stack and does not stack. So we need to find shapes that stack, and by stack I mean that they can go on top of one another without wobbling, without falling over. So let's take a look. I'm going to move my computer back. You're going to be a little bit farther away from me so that you can see the desk in front of me, and we're going to find out what shapes stack. And just so you know, I have cut out my little shapes. This is a cone. This is a cylinder. This is a sphere. And here is the cube. Okay, so I have cut them out. It would be really helpful if you have little pictures of these shapes, and that way you can put them on either side. Does stack or does not stack. So let me make a little bit of space here, and you tell me if these shapes stack. Move you guys a little farther from me so you can see. The first one, let's start with the sphere. Does the sphere stack? Can you put balls on top of each other without them wobbling or falling? Well, let's try. I have an orange sphere. I have a pink sphere. Let's see if they will stack. Oh, let's try one more time. So these do not stack. Do they roll? They roll really easily, right? They could roll across the whole desk if I let them. So spheres roll, but they do not stack. Awesome. What about the cylinder? Will this stack? What do you think? It does have a flat top, even though it looks round. Do you think I can stack another can on top of this, another cylinder? Let's find out. I'm going to take a second can of soup. Does it stack? It does. It's not wobbling. It's not falling over. So cylinders stack. Say that with me. Cylinders stack. They can go one on top. If I had another one, I could put it on top here. Do cylinders roll? Let's find out. I'm going to put it on its side. I'm going to put it on the round part. Will this roll if I give it a little push? Let's see. It does. It doesn't roll like the ball, but do you see it rocking back and forth? All I have to do is give it a little touch, and it rolls back and forth, right? So a cylinder can roll, and a cylinder can stack. Awesome. So cylinders can do both. Very cool. How about my cone? Does my cone stack? I'm going to put it down and let's find out. Now remember, we are imagining that it's totally flat across the bottom here. So if I take another cone, it's totally flat here. So I'm not trying to do this because I'm pretending that there's a flat surface here. So if it was flat here, can it stack like this? Can this tiny little point hold up this big cone? Nope, that's not going to work. That's not what I want, right? I want them directly on top, and if I let go, it's not going to stay, right? Even if I flip it around, Is this going to work? Nope, so it's not going to stack. Can a cone roll? And remember, when I say roll, I'm talking about roll like a ball or roll like a cylinder without me really needing to push it. Let's see if my cone can roll. Let's see, I'm going to put it down on its round side. It's not really rolling, it's wobbling. But when I push it, the whole thing kind of moves. It doesn't go like a ball like I want it to. It just kind of wobbles, right? So a cone does not roll. And a cone does not stack. See? What about my cube? Will this stack? Does it have enough space on the top to support another cube? So if I take a tissue box and I put it down, and I take another tissue box and I put it on top, will it stack? What do you think? Let's find out. That seems to work. It's not wobbling. It's not falling over. It's flat, and it stacks. Very cool. Will the cube roll? Again, roll like a ball. Will the cube roll? All right, I'm going to put it down. There's no round side on here, so I have a feeling it's not going to, but let's see. Will it roll? Let's try again. Not rolling. It's actually sliding. It's not rolling, but it is sliding. So a cube can stack, but not roll. These are really, really, really great things that we are learning, and we're going to use them now in Chapter 10.1. So come to page 413. What shapes did we learn stack? Do you remember? What shapes stack? We had the cube. That stacked. And we had our cylinder. So you can take your cut out shapes, or you can draw them if it's easier. You can take your cube and your cylinder and put them under does stack. If these two stack, then what shapes do not stack? We had the cone, that did not stack, and we had the sphere. Remember the balls? They did not stack. So we could draw them or glue them right here. Stacking and not stacking. Very good. Now again, if you have those cut out shapes, it's going to be really helpful to have them for the next page, 414, because now we see 3 groups. This group says roll, so we're looking for the shapes that roll here. This group says roll and stack. Shapes that roll and they stack. We're going to put that here. And then this group says stack. Which shapes roll? Remember, which shapes roll? Did the sphere roll? It did. So draw or glue your sphere in roll. Which shapes roll and stack? There was only one, that it can roll and it can stack. Do you remember? Does my cylinder roll? It does. Does my cylinder stack? It does. So take your cylinder, draw or glue it, and roll and stack. Which shape stacks? Our cube, And you could also put, if you wanted to, you could put your cylinder in all three groups, but really it only has to go in the second one because it rolls and it stacks. Okay? Does the cone roll? Does the cone stack? Not so much. And we actually, if you had a real wooden cone, like the cones that we have at school, they would actually roll a little bit easier. So a party hat is really good to see what a cone looks like, but it's not so great if we are trying to roll it or move it around the table. If you have a real wooden cone and you're confused as to why your cone is rolling, you could include it in roll. That was my mistake. A party hat only looks like a cone, but it doesn't really act like one when we put it down on a flat surface. So that was my mistake. A real cone could roll, similar to a sphere. Okay? Now let's come over to page 415. We have to find the correct shape to match the first shape. So here we are looking at number 2, we are looking for a shape that, or shapes that roll. And I believe the directions want you to put an X. Oh, which shape does not roll? Okay. So look at number 2. You have 3 shapes: a sphere, a cube, a cylinder. Which one does not roll? Put an X on it. Come down to number 3. They're asking about shapes that stack. Which shapes do not stack? Which shapes do not stack? We have a cone, a sphere, a cube. Put an X on the shapes that do not stack. Here we have slide. Let's take a look. Which shape does not slide? Which shape does not slide? Does the cylinder slide? It does slide. Does the sphere slide? Does this slide? That looks like a roll to me. What about your cube? Does your cube slide? So cross out the shape that does not slide. Come down to your last problem. Which shape does not stack and slide? Which shape does not stack and slide? Does this do both? Does it stack? Does it slide? What about this one? The cylinder, does it stack? Does it slide? What about your sphere? Does it stack? Does it slide? Which shape does not stack and slide? Put an X on the one that does not. This is hard work, boys and girls. Just one more page to go. Let's come to page 416. We have a red cone and a yellow cylinder. And let's look at the directions. I roll and do not stack. Describe the shape. I roll and do not stack. Put an X on that shape. So remember, if we're talking about a real cone, not a paper party hat, but a real cone, will it roll if you push it? Will the cylinder roll? Will the cylinder stack? Will the cone stack? I roll, I do not stack. Put an X on the shape that that's describing. And then come down to your empty box at the bottom. Draw to show what you know about a real object that rolls and does not stack. So let's choose an object that rolls and does not stack. Can you choose a cube? No, a cube stacks. We can't choose that. Can you choose a cylinder? No, a cylinder stacks. I roll and I do not stack. You can choose a sphere or a cone. You can draw one of those shapes or both of those shapes in your space. I roll and I do not stack. I know this was a long introduction, boys and girls, but this is something that we're going to be working on throughout Chapter 10, so it's really important that we get practice and that we find things around our house that we can use if we don't have the actual wooden shapes like we would at school. It's really important to find shapes that we can use so that we can get our hands on them and push them around, play with them, and find out what they do. You guys are rock stars. Thank you for sticking with me, and I'll see you guys really soon. Bye-bye.